the Rolls-Royce Mayfair opening party.
Yeah.
I've never seen.
What was it about it that was particularly great? I can imagine anyway, but
yeah, there are videos online, and if you get a chance to, you've been there, haven't you, to go to the show as it looks now. But the launch party was, I've possibly been to a few nightclubs in my life, and I've never seen a queue as excited as the one that was going in there. And it was a bit of a who's who, but the whole thing was just done. The whole building was just done. It used to be a Sainsbury's, I think, to what it is now. And I think that from start to finish of a launch for a business or a new business, so that whole campaign of taking it, we're here, we've got to move. We didn't have a showroom for 18 months. To launch in something in that way, of that magnitude, that's been so successful since the conception of it, and we signed it off, and with the help from the manufacturer as well, it's just astounding. I said to Sadie, the brand marketing person that works there, just what a job.
So Brett, welcome to a very hot studio. It's your your second interview of the day, to be fair.
It's also, not my first time in a very hot studio, but thank you for having us again.
No problem at all. We'll try and keep it brief in that case. Let's get straight into it. What led you into automotive? Because you didn't start there, did you?
No, I started in retail, so I had a very sort of core training set from what it was called then was Dixon Stores Group. Tried to get into automotive, I think, at the age of 18, 19, and apparently I wasn't good enough to sell cars. It was quite interesting. And then went into what one of my main interests was computers, so I worked for Currys and PC World and those guys, setting up the business centres and running those. And then I suppose eventually, left that a bit disillusioned with, I suppose, the prospects of it, and then went into the next phase of, okay, well, I know I can sell, I love tech, but I need to sell and earn. So I didn't want to do anything else. Cars was kind of the step between an expensive computer and a house is your £10,000 bracket for a vehicle. So I ended up working for a Fiat retailer in East Grinstead many years ago.
And you work for a slightly different section of the market now, don't you?
Still Italian.
That's true.
It is true.
That's very true.
Yeah, so at the moment, I work for probably one of the best known luxury car brands globally. So HR Owen. We have the oldest Bentley retailer in the world. I think we're number one for most of the brands we represent, and we have some beautiful and amazing staff, customers, and cars, and suppliers.
Of course. Yeah. Every day must be pretty exciting, I think, in that case. Matt, what brought you into the industry? Obviously, slightly different route for yourself.
Yeah, so I was actually at IBM at the time, and I got asked to work on a program with Jaguar Land Rover in Gaydon, as it was at the time, just as JLR was expanded into China. So this was sort of back in 2010, and off the back of that program, actually, I was headhunted to go over to China and set up the sort of the CRM and marketing team over there for a couple of years, and just fell in love with the industry, enjoyed the cars, great set of brands. Came back into the UK following that, and then literally at the start of the pandemic got the opportunity to join Salesforce as what we call an industry advisor for the sector, and haven't looked back. It's been great.
I get the impression you're a bit of a car guy as well, judging by what's in the car park.
That has been known, yes. It's been, I think once you're in, you don't leave, right? So I do enjoy tinkering, although I have my father-in-law on hand quite often with additional tools and a car pit for when things fall off and I can't fix them.
And just for the benefit of the audience, what is in the car park? 'Cause it's pretty special.
It's a Defender 110 James Bond Spectre edition on 37-inch Maxxis Trapador tyres.
It's a lot of detail.
It's a lot of detail, but it's an important
It's not enough for some people. Some people will be writing this down and thinking, I need to know more. But we're not here to discuss that, unfortunately. Maybe that's for another show. But Matt, how do you think the industry's changed over the last 3 or 4 years? I know there's the obvious thing, which we don't have to talk about, obviously, because I think everyone's fed up talking about that. But that aside, what's changed? What's kind of made you sit up and take notice the most?
I think the thing that's probably I've noticed the most is, customers have got a lot more specific in what they're looking for when they're browsing for vehicles. It used to be a vehicle locator, then it used to be, it was a configurator, then I wanted to actually locate a specific vehicle. Now, when customers are browsing online, it's very much about the total cost of ownership, the cost of change, the environmental credentials of that vehicle. And so the volume of information that customers are having to digest has increased. But I think what the industry is starting to do is to surface that information in a much more digestible way, in a much more personalised way. And I think that's been the big change is the volume of information, but also the intelligence that now sits behind the way that information is served up, so that it's relevant and it's timely for each person, because ultimately everyone's browsing habits and vehicle interests are completely different.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of why you're here as well, Brett, isn't it? Because you see the other side of that. So like Matt says, as consumers, people buying cars, they're dealing with a lot of data themselves. It's nothing like the data you're dealing with, because you're seeing the back end of that, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Matt said, apart from the economical side. I don't think we've got that many economical cars. But we're slowly getting there. A lot of our manufacturers are moving to electricity, but not quite got rid of the V12s just yet. So the data side for us is where we can make really, I suppose, accurate decisions en masse by using a core set of platforms. Instead of putting more and more in, we're trying to put less and less in and have a central point of truth with all the customers' information that we can access, that they can access, and that we can share in the right way to give them the best experience they possibly can. And that's, for me, I suppose, is what's changed in automotive in the times I've been in it from selling and manufacturer side, is that we're adopting what the retail business of non-automotive, so everything else, has had for such a long time. And Salesforce for us was a no-brainer. We now use it extremely well, and it is our central platform, and we won't now work with partners unless they're on a connection journey with that platform, or whether they're prepared to work on an API set that will plumb in, because we don't want more, we want less but more data.
Yeah. How has that data changed the industry, do you think? And I suppose more specifically, how has it changed marketing within the industry?
Okay, so 2 points on that. So ITP is a massive change with regards to how browsing is monitored, and analytics version 4 is out, I think, end of this year. So we've got to migrate from that. So without having server-side control or an account area or something where you can see what your customers are doing on the website, how they're engaging, what they want, what they need, how they want to convert, marketing is going to lose all of that really good, useful key information that good marketers will be looking at and reacting on. So how we market has got to change, and we've been looking at this for a long time, from my time before with Ivendi to what we're doing now with Salesforce and the coming of Experience Cloud and the customer account areas, and giving the customers the full control of all their information. That's the most important thing, because they have to have that element of trust if you want to engage with someone on any form of transactional level, and whether that's a transaction of money or information or time. If you don't trust someone, there's nothing there. There's no relationship. And for us, the relationships we have with our staff, our partners, and our customers is by far the most important thing, because without that, we can't turn the lights on.
The net result of that has to be simple, though, doesn't it, from the customer's perspective? Because the engine behind this, like as you guys know all too well, is ridiculous. It's so powerful. Have you got any concerns, Matt, in terms of how that might impact the consumer? Because it's got to be seamless, hasn't it? There's got to be no kind of complexity, really.
Yeah, it has got to be seamless. I mean, I'll echo Brett's point, right? At Salesforce, trust is our number one value, and how we handle our customers' information and how customers feel when they're using our products, even if they don't realise they're using our products in the back end, is really important. I mean, I think giving the customer that opportunity to have a logged in state and providing a value exchange for that means that, like you say, you can provide transparency in terms of what information are you capturing on that customer, opposed to just the kind of the cookie box at the bottom with the T's and C's. But you can start to play that information back, and if you create the right kind of value exchange, I genuinely do believe customers will share more information, because you'll get something from it. So I think transparency is key. I do think there is a risk that, as you say, with all of the technology and the complications, people have a tendency to automate everything, and actually people still want that human touch. They still want that option to be able to reach out. And I think as long as that's provided, on whoever you are, then that reassurance is there for the customer. But yeah, the majority of people don't really understand kind of the complexity of what sits in the back end, but they do want the convenience, right? I mean, let's take, you know, Uber and Airbnb and everything else, right? As long as the front end is seamless, and they feel like they understand the value exchange that they get in, then I think in that case, you know, the experience can be, you know, as expected.
Yeah. What excites you about that in terms of, if we take the complexity away from it, and if we think about the Uber thing, 'cause we're some way from an Uber reality in, you know, buying a car at the moment. It's never going to be that simple, obviously, or maybe one day. What excites you the most, Matt, about what this means for marketing in a...
Yeah, I think the thing that excites me the most is making it easy to do business with and making it easy for customers to buy a car. Like we said, like the aspiration is to make, you know, buying a car or understanding your vehicle trade-in appraisal as easy as Uber and Airbnb. You know, some of the new manufacturers and entrants have done that for the new vehicle process, but, you know, buying a used car is much more complicated than that. But I do believe that we will get there. And I believe as marketeers, we'll be able to, again, get back to being much more relevant, much more personalised, reach people with the age-old saying, right, the right message at the right time. But that's really important, right? Especially with, you know, so many new products coming in, you know, with EVs and hybrids, and people asking all of those questions around actually what does it take. The question is, how do you market not just the product, but, you know, looking at these lovely old posters on the table here, right? As marketeers, you're still selling a lifestyle, right? You're still selling the dream and the to be, and I think that will continue. But I think the motor vehicle will start to play a slightly different role in people's lives now, because of just the changing, you know, global environment and economic situation as well.
Yeah, Brett, what about you? How do you feel it? What are you most excited about the way this will develop?
Again, as Matt says, it's about the experience, and especially for us because of what we sell. We're not high volume retailers. We've not got billions and billions of cars going out, but we offer an experience that we think is, I suppose, better than our competitors and you know, the conquest stuff that we're up against. What we're most excited about is, I suppose, the pace of change that's within the tech side of the business that will still facilitate really, really slick marketing and that sort of multivariate approach to customers in a way that they want to be able to interact with us. And that's what, you know, again, for instance, Salesforce, everything that we're plumbing in means that any interaction that a customer has with us is logged. Because there's nothing worse with asking the same question twice or three times or four times. And it enables us to keep and log and store all that, but also still remain there and relevant for the customers. And you know, if you go onto a website and you've got a question, you want to be able to ask it. So chat, people use. But if it's 9 o'clock at night and there's no one there, then it's literally equivalent to walk into a car showroom and there's no one there to ask questions to. There's no difference in that. So I don't think marketing is going to get to the point where it's just a completely automated Amazon, click a button, buy a car on a website, because me personally, I'd probably have questions. And I'd like to ask someone those questions at a time. So that assisted online purchase has a place, just like an assisted physical purchase has a place. There's no difference of that. They're both showrooms, they're both environments. Theoretically, they're both trackable. And it's just making it, as I suppose, as seamless as possible and encouraging customers to use slightly newer technology and new approaches and you know, marketing to them in different ways than we used to. You can't just send stuff through people's letterboxes willy-nilly
or
inboxes and split and splattergun. But it's, you know, if you it just becomes noise. It's got to be relevant to what they're looking at, and to do that, you need to know what they're interested in, and to do that, you need consent to track them and to offer them those bits of information. And they need the option to opt out whenever they want to.
Yeah,
I want more. I want less. I want to know more about that and less about this.
Do you see that being misused at the moment in terms of the consent, GDPR, etc.?
I probably go on a website a day where what they're doing is incorrect, and that is big, global sized, you know, in the retail environments. Is it being misused? Yeah, probably. Sadly enough, I think it probably is. But it's a lot better than I suppose it was. And I think there's systems and services out there that will start to enforce and start to make it better. But it's a difficult thing to get your head round if you're owner-driver of one franchised car sales business to get your full, you've not got a DPO, you've probably not got someone in charge of IT, you've got a website which somebody else runs for you, but you're not really sure. So you're listening to people that are selling you stuff as opposed to looking at your customer data and going, how do I protect this best?
Yeah.
So it's advice, I suppose, and seeking information about what you should be doing. I don't think people are intentionally misusing it, but I think there's more that can be done, and I think that will come in time with that sort of thing.
And I guess a lot of the time, it's quite often the case of them not knowing they're misusing it, just not knowing enough. Like you say, if you think about some of the people who listen to this podcast, they don't have those big IT teams. They don't know anything, understandably, about data, big data, Salesforce, or any of these things. They don't have the budgets for it. Matt, what would you say to those people who are running smaller dealerships or even smaller dealer groups who hear this stuff and think, we're a million miles from this, are we going to lose customers? We're looking at the moment, like you say, on this desk, we're seeing that the history of automotive here, we're a long way from this now. They're probably nervous. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd say a couple of things. I mean, one of the challenges historically has been that, retailers are using 20, 30, 40 different systems, right? And each of those systems come from a different provider, a different organization. And how do you know if all of those providers are actually adhering to the same set of standards? When were they last, running through, internal audit and compliance? I think what we would say as Salesforce, right, is that we always believe, we call it a 3-in-the-box model, right, is that we will engage with a customer alongside a trusted partner, an approved Salesforce partner. And to be a partner of Salesforce, you have to go through the certifications, you have to go through the technical qualifications, but also everything else around data and security as well. And that 3-in-the-box model means that there's some accountability. And if you're a Salesforce customer like Brett and you've got a partner implementing something and you're like, well, hold on a minute, I just want to check, is that right? They have a direct account manager within Salesforce, and they can open up that ticket and say, I want to review this. So that 3-in-a-box or 3 eyes, whatever you want to call it, works well around accountability and integrity. And as I said, trust is our number one value. So we think that's really important. And I think, moving forwards as we talk about kind of what excites us about marketing, we're doing a lot of work around augmented reality and virtual reality now. And do you put your Oculus headset on or your new Apple headset when it gets announced next year to visualize a vehicle and again, collect a lot of data off the back of that. But that could make the buying process really exciting, a lot more innovative and intuitive. But again, you're trusting somebody to provide that kind of level of capability and tech for you, because it's not something you're going to do in-house as a retailer. But if you can buy it as a service, I think what's interesting now is we're seeing not just OEMs but retailers sort of say, well, I want this element of marketing as a service. I'm going to pay for outcomes that I want to be delivered. And that will include, data security, data privacy, and all of those good things as well. So I think that's an interesting change in the marketplace that I'm quite excited about as well, because it will start to bring some standardization and consistency, which can only be a good thing for customers.
Yeah, and I think that's what it lacks. And back to the question of the smaller retailers have work towards a single point of truth. You need a preference center somewhere. Yeah, and that's because GDPR is literally common sense and being polite with other people's information. They've just put a set of a rule book towards it, but it's not that complicated to get right if all your data's in one place, which with a lot of smaller retailers it probably is. They have a single CRM and maybe an after-sales product, so maybe 2 places. So it's 2 things to connect. We've got 5 brands, 6 brands, 7 brands, 18 sites. It becomes more complicated to connect, so we'd need a slightly bigger budget for it. But the principle's still the same. It's just having deciding where it's going to be and having that single source and go, okay, this is what we work towards. That's the core point of our business. This is where our customers' information sits. Here's our security point.
No one has to be left out with this, do they? That's the key thing, really. It's quickly it's becoming democratized, isn't it? This type of technology, these approaches, and like you say, a lot of it is common sense, really. I think people just get a bit scared of things, words like GDPR and that kind of stuff, really.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just to build on that, I think it's a journey as well, right? A lot of people can look at the tech and go, it's too big and scary and complex. But you need to. We always say, start small and move fast, learn and iterate and build. And I think for a lot of retailers, sometimes they've tried to jump to the end outcome because you want to keep up with the showroom, down the road. But actually, taking the right steps and building the right, kind of marketing tools and capabilities in an iterative fashion is the way to go. And I think that reduces that kind of anxiety and nervousness around what have I built, what am I using, am I compliant?
Hopefully that will reassure a few people listening to this. Before we wrap up, guys, obviously two marketing guys here, two very experienced people. I'm going to put you on the spot now. I'll start with you, Brett. What's been your favourite marketing campaign of the last couple of years? What brand? You don't have to name them if you don't want to, but if you do, go for it. But what do you think of the kind of the best marketing campaign you've seen in the last couple of years?
That is quite a difficult one. Well, I don't watch a lot of TV.
I'm glad you went first.
Yeah. Well, that's really
well, the thing is, you see these things, don't you? They flash by and you think, oh, that was brilliant, a great advert, and then you get on with your job and you forget about it. But is there anything that sticks in your memory where you've seen it done really well by a particular brand?
Yeah,
or
obviously by HR Owen, surely. Or by
you can pick your own.
By any of our manufacturers. I don't know I suppose what you deem as a marketing campaign to what I deem as a marketing campaign may be a little bit different in how we run events. I suppose one that sticks in my mind that we've done would be the F8, I suppose, launch, which they ran out of Old Brompton Road. Just an astounding, oversubscribed event for an amazing vehicle, amazingly well done. The team in there did a great job. And how we did it and we ran it, and again, using Salesforce to do it and get it right and get the right people there. And with most of our events, obviously, they're always oversubscribed. So I think that's one of the favourite things, and we have a lot of launches that we do. So Ferrari Mayfair. If I had to pick one on the spot of ours, would be the Rolls-Royce Mayfair opening party.
Yeah,
I've never seen.
What was it about it that was particularly great? I can imagine anyway, but
yeah, there are videos online, and if you get a chance to, you've been there, haven't you, to go to the show as it looks now. But the launch party was I've possibly been to a few nightclubs in my life, and I've never seen a queue as excited as the one that was going in there. And it was a bit of a who's who, but the whole thing was just done. The whole building was just done. It used to be a Sainsbury's, I think, to what it is now. And I think that from start to finish of a launch for a business or a new business, so that whole campaign of taking it, we're here, we've got to move. We didn't have a showroom for 18 months. To launch in something in that way, of that magnitude, that's been so successful since the conception of it, and we signed it off, and with the help from the manufacturer as well, it's just astounding. I said to Sadie, the brand marketing person that works there, just what a job. Yeah, I've never seen anything done in that way before. And that if I had to pick one thing out of all the stuff that we've done,
great experience.
It will be that. Yeah.
What about you, Matt? You've had a bit of time to think.
I was going to say you gave me plenty of time to think. Yeah. I'm going to go to Jim Farley and the team at Ford and the Visor program that they've kicked off in the US and that will be coming to Europe. Because what was so great about that campaign was that while the electric F-150 is kind of the enabler, the campaign was all about the small, medium enterprise in the States, the builder, the contractor, the plumber, and how, their lifestyle and their daily job can be improved and enhanced through the product and the capabilities that are coming with that product. And it was a real, let's use the buzzword, it was a real emo film. It was a real feel-good film. It demonstrated that Ford had listened to its customers, had understood their needs, and was going beyond just the physical product in terms of meeting that. And I think it's, you watch that and you get a real kind of tingle off the back of it. So I think it's a great campaign, and I think it will get adapted obviously as it comes to Europe. I think it will resonate really well. Yeah,
inspiring, like you say. And both those campaigns scale down. I know that we're talking about big brands here, but you can apply that to any business really, no matter the size. But I'll have to go and check those out on YouTube after this. Cheers, guys. We have run out of time. We'll have to come back and talk Defenders, I think, next time, because I'm as obsessed as everyone else is back in the office. But thank you, guys. Thanks for spending some time here, and we'll definitely have you back on.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.